The AP will do it wrong, so we're here to do it right. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert here with our Week 5 GE Top 25 rankings, our own set of rankings that we bring you every single Monday here at the channel. No bias from the AP, no bias from the playoff committee when those rankings start coming out, strictly based on our model, us watching the game, something that the AP clearly does not do, our true analysis for every team across the country. And you know, week 4 was a fairly lackluster weekend. We only saw 3 top 25 teams lose, all of those coming in ranked versus ranked matchups, so not really any massive upsets, but 2 of those 3 games were very decisive, which means we're going to see some big risers in this week's rankings. We're going to see some big fallers. 2 teams did fall out. We have 2 new teams in our top 25, so a lot to break down heading into what's going to be one of the biggest weekends of the entire college football season with 4 ranked versus ranked matchups. We'll touch on that later this week. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Our Week 5 GE Top 25 rankings, you can see that the top 7 has remained unchanged. So again, we said there weren't a whole lot of shakeups from a lackluster weekend in Week 4. Ohio State and Penn State remain at 1 and 2 respectively after both coming off a bye week, but both had big games this week. Ohio State traveling to Washington, maybe a trap game there. Penn State, of course, hosting Oregon in the big whiteout game, one of the biggest games of the entire season in a rematch of last year's Big Ten championship. LSU remains at 3, beat Southeast Louisiana by 46 points, as they should. Georgia was on a bye week, they stay at 4. Oregon at 5 after dominating Oregon State by 34, and Miami remaining at 6 after their 19-point win over Florida. I know the AP has Miami at number 2. I don't think I can justify putting Miami up that high yet. They've looked good. I know they beat Notre Dame. They beat USF. Both those teams were ranked. Florida obviously is not any good. I couldn't justify, I had Miami at 6 last week. I couldn't justify moving Miami up over, say, Oregon. Oregon State and Florida pretty much on pace for me. I think Florida would win that game, but Oregon State's very bad. Florida is very bad. I can't justify Miami jumping Oregon in that spot. Can't justify them jumping Georgia, who I had at number 4. I just couldn't justify moving Miami up a lot for beating, again, a very bad team in Florida. It just doesn't make any sense. So the Hurricanes still at number 6. They have opportunities to move up in time, and they could very well move up a few spots next week because we know for a fact that Penn State or Oregon is going to lose. Texas A&M remains at number 7 after a bye week. They got up into our top 10 because of their big win over Notre Dame in week 3. You see a few changes in the bottom half, or the bottom third really, of our top 10. Oklahoma up 2 spots following their big win over Auburn, beating the Tigers by 7, 24-17. Some would say controversially on that trick play, hidden receiver over on the sideline the refs didn't call, whatever. Obviously a touchdown for the Sooners, only won by 7, but regardless, they do move up 2 spots from number 10 to number 8. Oklahoma looking like the real deal this season. Texas Tech is in our top 10 now, along with Indiana. So we mentioned 2 of those 3 ranked versus ranked matchups were determined very decisively. The Red Raiders and the Hoosiers were the ones that won that game decisively. Texas Tech going on the road to Utah, which is not an easy place to play. They were a 3.5-point underdog, and they destroyed the Utes 34-10. We knew Texas Tech's offense was good. I was more impressed with their defense. An unbelievable job by Texas Tech's defense, and the Red Raiders, obviously, maybe the front runner in the Big 12 right now. Spent all that money in the transfer portal. It's clearly paying off. Love what Joey McGuire's doing down in Lubbock. That win over Utah, extremely impressive. So we had him at number 15. We move him up 6 spots up to number 9. We move Indiana up 10 spots, beating a top 10 team in Illinois. We had them in the top 10. The AP had them in the top 10. Indiana won 63-10. Beat them by 53 points. 63 points on a top 10 opponent. So maybe Indiana's that good. Maybe Illinois is that bad and was severely overrated. I think it's a mixture of both. But I love what the Hoosiers are doing. They're blowing out every opponent just like they were doing last year. Finally got that big ranked victory for Curt Cignetti. This Hoosiers team is legit. We moved them up from number 20 to number 10 ahead of a team like Texas, who has now fallen outside of our top 10. Texas, yes, they beat Sam Houston. They beat them 55-0. That's great, as they should. They lost to Ohio State in week 1. They've won 3 straight games against weaker opponents. San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston. Arch Manning has been mediocre, was okay against San Jose State, not good against UTEP, okay against Sam Houston. But Texas, as we know, hasn't really beaten anybody. The defense is great. We know that. That could be what keeps them in a lot of games this year. But the Longhorns haven't done anything of substantial value for me to have them above Indiana, who just beat a top 10 team. To have them above Texas Tech, who just got a top 20 win on the road in convincing fashion. To have them over A&M, who won at Notre Dame. To have them over Oklahoma, who's beat Michigan and Auburn. So Texas really hasn't done anything wrong per se, but they don't deserve to be above the teams that have won better games than them, obviously. So Texas falling out of the top 10. They're down to number 11. Georgia Tech dropping a spot, not because they did anything bad. They beat Temple by 21 points, as they should, but it got dropping, obviously, because teams like Indiana and Texas Tech jump them, and you're going to see that a lot in the rankings. Sometimes teams fall, not because they did anything wrong, not because they lost, but because someone behind them got a much better win, and they're going to jump them. That's how it works. So Georgia Tech down to number 12, still higher than where most have them, but I'm very, very high on the Yellow Jackets, who have a very favorable schedule the rest of the way, and a very interesting ACC that now does not include Clemson as a true contender. Florida State is a team that's in the ACC that can contend. Miami, Georgia Tech, Florida State, going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. Keep in mind, Georgia Tech doesn't play either of those teams. Doesn't play Florida State or Miami, so something to watch out for. Seminoles beat Kent State by 56, as they should. They're up to number 13. Jumping Iowa State, dropping 2 spots. Again, because of the teams that moved ahead of them, they were on a bye week as well. So Iowa State still in the top 15 for us. Still a legitimate Big 12 title contender alongside Texas Tech, but they are down to number 14. Tennessee up to number 15, beating UAB 56-24. Maybe a lot more points than they wanted to, but still a very convincing victory as they get prepared for conference play. Their game against Mississippi State this weekend could be a trap game for the Vols, and a very high-scoring game as well. Michigan up 2 spots. I was impressed with their win over Nebraska. I actually moved Michigan above Alabama up to number 16. I know Nebraska wasn't ranked, but to go into such a hostile environment against a Nebraska team that was unbeaten in a game where, also without their head coach, by the way, Sherrone Moore was not coaching in that game, in a game where many thought Nebraska could finally get that signature win under Matt Rule, finally get a quality win at home, it didn't happen. Michigan got the job done. Bryce Underwood played well. The defense played well, and it was a 30-27 win. Had it not been for a Hail Mary at the end of the first half, Michigan probably wins this game by double digits. So Michigan looked really, really good in that game. I think people go, Nebraska wasn't ranked, doesn't matter. Again, that was a good Nebraska team on the road that this team was able to handle. Give Michigan a lot of credit, a lot of praise for what they just did. I like him moving up to number 16. That was a quality win and an impressive win. Now Moore is going to be back as head coach as they enter the bulk of Big Ten play. And Michigan, all their hopes and dreams and everything of another playoff berth and things like that are still very much alive and right in front of them. Alabama at 17. They were on a bye week getting ready for that big game at Georgia this Saturday. So keep in mind, 4 ranked versus ranked matchups, 2 of them, both at 6:30 Central Time. Bama at Georgia, Oregon at Penn State. 2 games that will have massive implications within their own conferences, but 2 games that are going to have massive playoff implications as well. So this set of rankings here is going to look so different next Monday after we see at least 4 guaranteed top 25 teams that will lose. I'm sure we'll see a couple others that lose as well. So again, watch out for that. You got that game. You got USC and Illinois. You got LSU and Ole Miss. Going to be a really, really big weekend. It's going to shake up a lot of things on the national stage, and we are just now entering conference play for the majority of the teams across the country, so it's only going to get crazier. But Bama at 17, right behind them, Vanderbilt. We kind of have a cluster of SEC teams here. They have all been ranked, by the way. We didn't just add them this week. Bama, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Missouri, 17 through 20. Just kind of how the rankings lined up. Bama was on the bye. Vanderbilt crushed Georgia State. They lost to Georgia State last year, got revenge, winning 70-21. Ole Miss dominated a very solid Tulane team, 45-10. That was a very impressive victory for the Rebels, once again starting their backup quarterback. 1 week after getting torched defensively by Arkansas, they only allowed Tulane to put up 10 points. So I was very impressed by Lane Kiffin's squad there. And then Missouri beat a healthy South Carolina team and Lenore Sellers. We weren't sure if he was going to play or not. He ended up playing, and Missouri did beat the Gamecocks 29-20. We correctly predicted that game back in the preseason, correctly predicted it last week. So the Tigers looking pretty good. A team that people thought might fall off a little bit, we have in the top 20 right now. But again, their schedule is going to get a lot tougher on the back end. So we'll see how Eli Drinkwitz's squad handles that. But again, that really cluster of SEC teams that's going to really fluctuate, include Tennessee in there as well. So what was that? 5 SEC teams between 15 and 20. It just shows how deep and how good this conference is going to be, but obviously going to get shaken up a lot over the next couple of weeks. Into our final 5 of the top 25, Louisville, USC, TCU, BYU, and I keep Illinois barely hanging on in the top 25. We had them at number 8. We dropped them 17 spots. They still have a Power 4 victory over Duke, who just beat NC State, a decent NC State team as well. Gonna give them the slight benefit of the doubt, but obviously this game against USC on Saturday, which is in Champaign, is going to tell us everything we need to know. Illinois wins that game. I think that proves that they were worthy of still remaining in the top 25. Obviously, if they lose, we're going to drop them out. So a big game for the Fighting Illini and the Trojans, who beat Michigan State by 14. Louisville still at 21 after their win over Bowling Green. I'm curious to see how this team fares in ACC play. The two new teams that are in, because Utah dropped out and Auburn dropped out, the two new teams are TCU and BYU. If you've watched our rankings, we talked about it last week. Those were two teams that were just on the outside looking in. BYU was our first team out last week, so they are in, but they do not jump TCU, who got, I thought, a very impressive 11-point victory over SMU. The final matchup for the foreseeable future between the Mustangs and the Horned Frogs, revenge game for TCU. They get a double-digit win over the Mustangs, who just have not gotten off to the start they wanted. Made the playoff last year, already have 2 losses now to Baylor and TCU, and only going to get tougher in ACC play. Probably not a playoff year for Rhett Lashlee's squad, but TCU there. BYU at 24 with a 21-point win against ECU in that dominant passing attack. So good defensive performance from the Cougars. They are now in. The teams just missing out now, teams like Mississippi State, Auburn, we had ranked at 23rd. They dropped a few spots after losing to Oklahoma. Not dire to them. Could find themselves in the top 25 again as soon as next week, maybe in 2 weeks. Arizona State right on the outside looking in, got a big win on the road at Baylor. So those are some teams that just kind of receiving votes here at the Gridiron Expert that very well could find themselves in the top 25 as soon as next week. But TCU, BYU, the newcomers, Illinois clinging to life, but that USC game that tells everything we need to know. USC up 3 spots, Louisville remains the same. So guys, there you go. Our Week 5 GE Top 25. Not too many changes. A lot of teams staying put. We have 9 teams that didn't even move up or down, including our top 7 remaining the exact same. A lot of changes in the bottom part of our top 10, as we mentioned. Texas Tech, Indiana proving to be the real deal. Vanderbilt looking really good. I'm really hoping that we get to see that Vanderbilt team be undefeated when they take on Alabama in 2 weeks. Going to be a lot of fun. This next weekend going to be absolutely massive. As we mentioned, 4 ranked versus ranked matchups. 2 of the biggest games of the year taking place at the same time on Saturday night. This is where the fun begins. The first quarter, first third of the season's been great. Now it's really about to take off. Now it's really about to get crazy, and this is where we're really going to find out who's real, who's not. Conference play changes everything, not just on the field, but in these rankings as well. And of course, we'll be with you every step of the way, predicting all of these games and bringing you what I think is the best set of rankings out there, way better than anything you're going to get from the media. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, which are some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. We're beating out over 80% of the national handicappers, have done so each of the last 6 years, are currently doing so now. Go take advantage of them. Sign up for them today, again, over on thegridironexpert.com. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.